Turkey is considered to be a key bulwark in the global migrant crisis. But looks like even Turkey has had enough of it. Syria's latest offensive in the Idlib province that borders Turkey is the trigger because it threatens to unleash another deluge of migrants into Turkey. And Turkey's President Erdogan says he cannot take any more. They already have 3.5 million refugees, the highest in the world. Our next report has more.
Turkey has the largest refugee population in the world. The country has been bursting at its seams after an unprecedented inflow of migrants since the war in Syria began in 2011. 8 years later, northern Syria has turned into a battlefield again. The fragile truce brokered by Russia has all but collapsed. And Syrian forces have launched an all-out assault on one of the last remaining rebel strongholds in the Idlib province. Turkey has traditionally sided with the rebels in the war against Syria, but it finds itself in a predicament now. Idlib is home to at least 3 million Syrians, and Turkey claims that 80,000 of them are currently moving to the Turkish border. The Turkish president has warned that he will not handle the pressure of a new influx, and that the negative impact will be felt in Europe as well.
Bombardımandan kaçan 80 binin üzerinde İdlib'li kardeşimiz ülkemiz sınırına doğru göç etmeye başladı.
No doubt, there are financial expenses that are the high equipment expenses.
Böyle bir durumda Türkiye bu göç yükünü tek başına taşımayacaktır.
According to Turkey's state-run Anadolu news agency, more than 200,000 people have been displaced from their homes in Idlib since November. The fleeing civilians were going towards areas in Syria, where Turkey has ceased its military operations. There are 3.7 million refugees living in Turkey already, and it has plans to rehabilitate 1 million of them in northwestern Syria. Turkey has already waged a war to that end, and is seeking global financial support, too, for this. So far, Turkey's proposal has received little public backing. After the Global Refugee Forum in Geneva last week, the United Nations Refugee Agency said more than $3 billion has been pledged by countries to support refugees.
Confined to camps, just scraping by, unable to flourish or contribute.
But Erdogan, who attended the forum, bluntly declared that the money was just not enough. At the moment, he is doing everything possible to stop Russian bombardments in Idlib. A Turkish delegation is set to go to Moscow to discuss Syria. The Syrian offensive has disrupted a months-long deadlock on the front lines. Backed by Russia, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad is on a mission to destroy the last rebel bastion. Airstrikes have been reported on civilian settlements. The government has denied all such charges. They claim their fight is against Al-Qaeda-inspired terrorists. But videos have surfaced from Idlib that seem to show otherwise. An estimated 25,000 people have fled Idlib since the latest attack began. According to Syrian volunteer groups, more than a dozen civilians have been killed over the past week. The Syrian army claims to have captured 20 rebel-held villages in Idlib, and the operation has triggered yet another migrant crisis in the region. Turkey has been a major stakeholder in the global refugee crisis of the past decade, and President Erdogan's warning is not a red herring, but a clarion call for the world to act upon. Bureau Report, Wion. World is One.
An increasing number of children in Japan are refusing to go to school. And these numbers are rising, so are the questions. Are these children being bullied? Or is this a reflection of the schooling system in the country? This report has the answers.
Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never harm you. So goes the childhood chant for bullying at schools. Schools, which should be a place for safety and learning. But in some cases, they have become a hotspot for bullying-related suicides. This phenomenon has its own term in Japan, futoko, a social issue which is spreading fast. Teenagers in Japan are refusing to go to school, some for more than a month. Yes, the statistics are staggering. Bullying is affecting the well-being of students. Depression, anxiety, and panic attacks have become increasingly common in students. And for some, suicide has become a better solution than going back to school. But bullying may not be the only reason. This culture is also a reflection of the schooling system in Japan. Japanese schools are infamous for controlling every aspect of their pupils' lives. A concept known as black school rules. From forcing students to dye their hair black to not allowing them to wear tights or coats in winters. And in some cases, even deciding the color of undergarments students wear. This need to conform has become a major issue for students in Japan. Criticism of such black school rules is on the rise. Newspapers are describing them as a violation of human rights, and campaign groups are filing petitions to ease these rules. Japanese parents are beginning to accept that futoko children are not the problem. They are just reacting to an education system that is failing to provide a welcoming environment, because the impact is severe. These students are growing up to become underconfident men and women. They are known as hikikomori, youngsters who have withdrawn from society and refuse to leave their houses. In a society like Japan's, where citizens seem to have everything, personal weaknesses can become increasingly visible. The fear is stealing their language, the ability to express what they have experienced. Listening is the most important thing. Interventions at the right time can mitigate these issues from growing more problematic. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.